What's going on, guys? So we're just gonna let some people enter the chat here. Feel free to ask any questions that you guys have. I hope everybody's had a good week. I started a couple minutes later than I normally do here, so we're just gonna start tackling a bunch of the different questions you guys have had throughout the week. I've seen a lot on the Q8FN. I've seen a lot on Black Friday. Pricing in general, those questions have been flying in like crazy. I literally can't keep up with the questions on pricing and what to go for, so we're going to be talking about a lot of that stuff here today. I hope you all, again, are doing well. I know we're all getting ready to gear up for next week. We have Black Friday coming up next Friday, so I know a lot of us are looking forward to that. What's going on, Mike? What's happening, man? Thank you for stopping by today. I appreciate it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free. Just kind of hang out and just talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen as far as Black Friday pricing. Now, so far where we sit in 2018, we have a couple different televisions to kind of watch for Black Friday, depending on the price point. But first, I want to address the higher price points. So, you know, for those looking for 75 and upwards of 80 inches, just be careful because those really won't see a Black Friday price decrease. Or price sale rather, because they're, again, the higher price point, and usually, as harsh as it sounds, Black Friday is pretty much for those of us who are of Commonwealth and who aren't really doing, you know, that great to the point where we can throw away like $3 grand. So, you know, manufacturers don't waste their time decreasing the price of those items usually. They usually just charge top dollar, and that's the most unfortunate part, especially at luxury brands like Sony, Samsung, LG. They usually stay pretty high up. But in terms of like kind of like the quote-unquote mid-range to entry-level high-end level, they usually do all right with that. It just kind of depends on their mood, really. This year seems a little funky with pricing, so it's not as low as we've seen in years prior. Definitely not as low as we saw last year, especially on OLED side of things. OLED's going for $16.98. That's a far cry off of the $14.99 that we had last year, so definitely something happening with pricing that I think is a little strange this year. I want to welcome everybody who's just now coming in. We're going to start reading some of the questions we have here. What's going on, Brandon? You said, how am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm glad you're here, so thank you for showing up today. We have a question from Efus, I hope I said your name right. You said that your Vizio P Series 50-inch is going out already. That sounds like bad luck. It's got like or you said it's got blackish clouding? That's strange. You said, let's see, you only notice it when you're on a white background. Is there a way to fix this? Not that I know of. I mean, usually when there's strange defects like that, the best route is usually to either A, take it to a repair shop, or B, just junk it and buy something different altogether for the price it would cost you to repair it. Usually it's the latter, and most people just kind of walk away. But I couldn't really tell you how good or how bad your situation is, so, of course, unless I was there in person, but even still, do I think it's worth fixing it? I mean, it would really depend. I mean, I know it's a 2016 Vizio. It just depends on if you really are that, you know, tied to the television. Personally, I'd say it's worth upgrading from. 2016 televisions now in 2018 are definitely starting to show their age, so I don't think it'd be a bad idea to upgrade. What's going on, Brent? What's happening, man? I hope I said your name right. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I don't know if I'm messing it up too much, but it seems like it's Brent, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes I have some weird pronunciations here on the channel, so I hope I'm not butchering your name. Now, you say, with these settings I've listed on yesterday's video, are they just for video games, or do I like them for movies as well? The settings that I've listed yesterday, just to double check here, they're the settings for pretty much everything. So I would use them. I've used them for video gaming. It just depends on what gaming console. Nintendo Switch, it's not happening. For whatever reason, Nintendo's like colors are very weird, and they don't work universally with Xbox and PlayStation, or even movies for that matter. But I have tested movies and Xbox and PlayStation and streaming and, you know, a bunch of DVDs and things like that, and it looks fantastic for that. I think a more universal setting that I would recommend for you guys would be natural mode settings, like my ultra bright settings that I have for you guys. I'm going to end up making a darkroom variant for that. I've been really taking a break away from, you know, really uploading videos to really sit here with this television, learn as much as I can for you guys, and give you something impactful, you know. So I finally figured out some really good and really solid darkroom performing television settings for you guys. So we'll probably end up giving that out, or just general room settings in general, not really darkroom per se, but they work really well in a dark room. I'll probably be giving that out sometime within the next couple of days or so. But yeah, I recommend them for movies as well as gaming. If you can, you know, stand the settings that I have, hopefully they're great for you. And with that, we're going to move on to the next question here. What's going on, Mayday Lawn Care? What's happening? Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, let's do this. Let's hop on this live stream and let's have a good time. I want to again thank everybody who's just now coming in. Thank you for joining today. I really appreciate it. What's happening, mobs? How you doing? You said, how's everything? I'm doing good. You said, you have a question about my recent videos. Are they for games or for TV? Yeah, my recent settings that I put out, they're good for video games. I usually start off, believe it or not, when I do like any settings, I usually start off with my video games because I'm a heavy gamer when I do have the spare time. And then from there, I just go into movies, and then I start immediately with like live streaming, not live streaming, but streaming off of Netflix and then Hulu, and then from there I just kind of take it down to DVDs, 4Ks, and work my way around different content and then really try to tighten it up and figure it out. You'll be surprised, the hardest part of these picture settings that I put out is actually trying to get motion refined. That's been a real challenge on this television. It's not like motion is like the worst thing I've ever seen, obviously, on a television, but it definitely needed help, as you guys probably discovered in my last settings video where I talked about motion being a weaker point, and it was something that needed to be done very particular, so you do have to be mindful of that if you are interested in QLEDs this year. And just before I end on that note, for those out there looking for some solid QLED settings, what I've done today, the whole day, just really kind of taking the time to sit down and refine my natural settings in the natural picture mode a little bit more. And I got it now to the point where the picture quality is pretty reminiscent of an OLED as far as the depth coming out of it, figuring out how to optimize backlight and things of that nature to get it like really tight, but then also obviously still give us the LED benefits. So let's see, we've got some more questions here. Let's see. What's going on, RL Car? What's happening? Mike, you said, so in about a week, am I happy with it? I think after a week of being with the Q8FN, I think I can, I think so. I think I can give you a more tongue-tied here, well-rounded kind of opinion on if I'm happy with the Q8FN after the initial impressions. I could say I feel just the same, man. I feel like it's a great television. If not, I actually feel stronger about it. So a lot's actually transpired within this week. I've had a lot of funky things happening with the Sony soundbar after a recent automatic update, even though my auto updates are off, which is exactly why I returned my 930, because they do that for whatever reason. So it's to the point now where Sony's just kind of like playing dirty, and they just kind of put the update out if you want it or not. They don't care, and so it's not working so well with my Samsung television. And that's the thing I really can't stand about Sony products. They don't play fair with others. Now, in terms of my happiness with my television, I think the Q8FN is the best TV still that I have ever owned. Nothing's ever remotely come in this ballpark or close. Every time I calibrated the 930, the 900E, it was always to get tighter contrast in a picture that quite frankly looks like this. So I'm extraordinarily satisfied with what I have, not changing. I've been seeing a lot of questions, and I know, again, welcome to you guys that are just coming on here. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to wonder, hey, you know, what's the deal with, you know, the Q9FN? Should I bite the bullet, or, you know, can I just save that extra money? I'm going to tell you right now, I've worked on Q9FNs, and in fact, I've noticed that they have very much more noticeable dirty screen effect, if you will. And the vertical banding is a lot worse on the Q9FN models. Now, of course, panels can vary, but from what I've been seeing, it's definitely been like the Q8 has kind of been like that, like not talked about television of 2018, but it really should be, and it's a darn shame that it's not kind of thing. So, you know, I would look, if you've got the money and black levels above all else and peak brightness above all else are what you're after, then definitely go with the Q9FN, because you're getting upwards of 3,000 nits out of the Q9FN for sure. And the black levels are amazing. We know that. But the thing is it really like an extra over $2,000 more amazing? No, absolutely not. Not in my personal opinion and professional opinion at that. Just simply because I've seen it, I've worked on it, and it's just not the greatest thing, at least from a technical perspective, seeing what the Q8 does. Not to go on too much about that, just kind of wanted to answer the question. So in a long-winded way, yes, I'm very happy, Mike. So thank you for that question. I'm probably going to have to go over it again for a couple of the guys and gals out here that come in a little later, but still, it's always good to address it. So what's going on? RL Car, you say, should you rank Q8 over the 900E? Yes and no. Now, this is going to be really weird, but I think this is something that we should talk about here. So when you're talking about Sony versus the Samsung Q9FN, it is very important to know that they do two different things. And sitting with it this last week, I've actually figured out exactly what it is that they do differently. See, it's different when you calibrate professionally, you're following software, and you don't really learn anything that way. You learn more when you're using it every day, right? So here's the deal. The Sony is going to give you better depth, if you will, around the background. I think that is what Sony is doing, especially on their X1 Extreme chips, the best. Now, you can still get it on their X1 4K HDR processor, which would be something like the Sony X900E. But at the same point, you're also not benefiting from the kind of depth you're going to get out of something on a higher level. And what Samsung is doing is they're focusing more on contrast. So light sources are what I'm noticing are worlds apart from every TV I've ever seen. Like light bulbs, the moon in the background, like even on this screen, because you guys are seeing the live stream here, but I'm seeing it on the Q8, and I'm telling you, this bug lamp over here off to the side, glowing like crazy. The windows in that little cabin, glowing like crazy. You know, when you see the little laser beams fly out of their eyes, little teleportation there, glowing like crazy. So the algorithm is tracking for really bright lights, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a contrast that wasn't stupid, right? That knew when there was something that needed to be bright, it was bright. Now, there is a negative side to this, as I've mentioned in my earlier videos this week, which is basically you have this problem where if you have text in the middle of the screen, it will dim down dramatically. And I'm not kidding. It dims a lot. But I find that to be a necessary trade-off if I want the rest. So it's either that or have associated LED blooming and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely would rank it above the 900E as an overall. Yeah, this beats the 900E, absolutely, no doubt, except in motion. The 900E is not being beaten in motion, and yet in 2018 have I seen a television better than the 900E for motion. I haven't seen it. The 900E is with motion, it's that deal. But as far as picture quality and everything else, yeah, this TV is taking the cake. What's going on, Ty? What's happening? You said, is the 75-inch Vizio P series good to buy at $1,800? $1,800 for a 75-inch ain't bad. I will warn you, though, if you are going Vizio, and that's for pretty much anybody out there, if you guys do end up going Vizio, just make sure you grab that warranty, because they don't have the greatest lifespans. That's not only from personal experience, but also professional experience, and you just don't want to be that guy in the, you know, raw end of the deal, so to speak. What's happening, Winston? You said, what's happening, sir? Good. What's happening, Sir Quantum? What's happening, man? I appreciate the comment and you coming out today. I appreciate it. What's going on, Troy? What's happening? You said, usually premium TVs will drop to Black Friday prices a week or two before Black Friday. So right now is about the best the prices are going to get, I think, is what you're saying. I'm kind of reading as I go here and trying to track everybody, but it kind of moves, so it kind of gets a little difficult here. But I appreciate you coming out, Troy. Good evening to you as well. I hope your family is doing all right. I hope everybody's family is doing all right, for that matter, and welcome to everybody who's come on. What's going on? The Mate 01, you said, I need that TV. It's a good TV to have. It's definitely like, if you told me like I have to go back to any of the other TVs I've had, I couldn't do it. I'm going to be very honest with all of you guys. I mean, I can't go back. You can't see QLED color calibrated the way I calibrate and then walk away from that and throw your hands up. And now, don't be discouraged. I know also there are a lot of you guys out there that like have obviously other TVs and things like that. I'm still working on the 900E. I'm still working on various other televisions. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I've been working with room ambient light temperatures and things like that. And you know, and one of my other rooms, in my bright room, I'm working on an average of like 1800 lux for my room's ambient light. And so it's a really bright room, and I'm trying to make sure I get the settings right for people in brighter rooms like that. So I don't know if that's something that could be helpful for you, but I'm going to try to figure things like that out. Just trying to find ways to evolve a little bit and help in ways that are meaningful to you guys. But yeah, it's a great TV. What's happening, Ben? You said thanks for the no BS information that I provide. I appreciate that. I do the best I can for you guys. So it's really cool to see the acknowledgement here. I really do appreciate that. The mobs, what's up? You said, I have a couple more questions. If you can make a video for anime and WWE settings for Survivor Series Sunday. The new settings that I've kind of got in the works right now should take care of a lot of that. I've been testing out loads of anime, and let me tell you right now, I haven't been more happy watching a TV than with these brand new settings that I put out, which is weird. It's like my settings are weird because I know I eventually get this giant backlog of settings, and a lot of people don't know which ones to go with because I'm always changing them all the time. But the thing is, you know, depending on the lighting, the mood, you're always going to want something different. So maybe you want a brighter room, maybe you want a darker room, or something more balanced. So I try to come up with a bunch of different settings for everybody. So definitely going to put those out for you. You said before Sunday, so Survivor Series is on Sunday. I'll make sure I have that out. I'll try to put it out tomorrow. I'm going to try to remember that. I do have kind of like a short-term memory sometimes. So if I don't do it, just don't hate me. I'm a person like everybody else. I will tend to forget things, but I'm pretty sure I'll remember. I'm going to try to remember that. What's going on? MDS8168. What's happening? You said, what should I get, Quantum? The 930, 900F, OLED, C8. You need a new TV. All right. So if you're going for brightness, then you're going to want to go with the 930. Also, if you're looking for the most depth out of a television, and when I mean depth, I mean like things in the background, like clouds, are like three-dimensional. Like the mountains, the background of the clouds, the, you know, it's like weird. It's like objects in the background on the Sony X930 are going to just jump out at the screen. And that's what it does, especially in Cinema Home. Now, if you're talking about, you know, peak brightness, again, it's fantastic. The only thing is the motion is something to consider, and the weight of the 930 is something to consider, along with the gigantically annoying panel lottery. Those are all negatives that kind of go against it, so that's something that I would recommend you kind of be a little cautious with here. Now, in terms of the 900F, the 900F is a good television. It really, truly, if I'm being like straight with you, it only really has one major deal-breaking flaw, and that's the darkroom environment, you know, viewing. The black levels are a mess, and it can be seen even in our bright room environment, and that there is blooming not only in the black bars during movies, but also anytime there's a loading icon of a video game or of a Blu-ray. It is very distracting. It looks ugly, and it's something that you have to weigh up as a kind of like, do you want to keep the lights on 100% of the time when using this television? If the answer is yes, then you're good to go, and the 900F is definitely a good choice. Now, as far as OLED, OLED is for the guy that you need those dynamic viewing angles. You're going to be entertaining a lot of guests, and you're definitely trying to prepare for Super Bowl in February. I think that's something as well that is something to mention. The other televisions can't do that. The viewing angle aspect is a lot weaker, so, you know, food for thought in that environment. But then, outside of that, if you wanted my personal recommendation out of everything on this list, I would say go for the Sony X930 or 900F, with a heavy lean towards the 900F, simply because black levels, while important, if you do put it in a bright enough environment, it will after a while not really be that big of a deal. You know, especially because we're talking about, you know, it's an LED television, so you can't expect it to be self-emissive. It is full array, and blacks do get incredibly deep, but it does have moments where it can be absolutely irritating to look at, and I completely understand where anyone would be coming from if that was a concern of theirs. Josh, what's going on, man? You said the best channel for the truth. I appreciate that. I'd like to think so, you know. I'm going to tell you like it is. I've been getting a lot of angry people lately on my Q6 videos. I think that's weird. It's weird, like, you know, they create like little sub-factions of like manufacturers. It's kind of like I'm the guy caught in the middle. You know, the LG guys tell me I was paid for by Samsung. The Samsung guys tell me I was paid for by Sony. It's like nobody knows what is what, you know, except for the guys and gals out here that watch every day. So I want to thank all you guys for showing up today. It's really cool of you guys, man. We got 92 people viewing right now. That's really awesome. So I want to welcome you guys all for coming through. So Winston has a question. He says, you're supposedly going to purchase within the next few days, and you said the Q8FN, but you're stuck deciding whether to go with the 55 or 65. I would go with the 55, save the money. I mean, if you really don't need the 65, there's no need to spend the extra money, because it is substantially more expensive. That's just my take, though. That's what I did. I was faced with a similar kind of decision to make. Is like, all right, do I go 55-inch or do I, you know, go bigger? And I never usually like going above 55 anyway, just because that's a good number for me. But, you know, that's something you definitely have to decide depending on your seating arrangement and also what you're trying to accomplish as well. Now, let's see. We got more questions coming in. Troy says, with the pricing of the 65-inch Z9D being $2,000 brand new and the Q8FN being $2,200, which is better in my opinion? Pros and cons for each. Okay, I think I can manage that one. Okay, so when we're talking about the Z9D is going to be really bright, and that's a great thing. But what makes it wonderful is those full array local dimming zones combining with that brightness, combined with, you know, that X1 Extreme chip. Those are the huge benefits, but mostly the black levels. You're basically getting what's the equivalent of an LED's OLED. I mean, it's incredibly dark, and I'm telling you, like, you really can't notice that much of a difference between that and OLED and many scenes as far as how deep black it gets. You really will have a difficult time. Combined with LED, combined with the quantum dots of the triluminous display, just make it a wonderful, wonderful treat. However, if you're looking at something like the Q8FN, it's an entirely different ballgame because it was designed to target OLED. So here's what it does differently. Like I've mentioned how like text dims when it's in the middle of the screen, but it also does that contrast thing I was talking about a moment ago earlier as well. Now, where the benefit for you comes into play is now you've got QLED color, and on higher end TVs like the Q8, I'm telling you, you've not lived until you've seen it. The only downside I would say really is the banding. There is a lot of color banding, so if you like a really smooth, colorful picture without any hiccups in the picture quality, then maybe the QLED might not be for you, because it definitely does have some color banding. And it won't matter how high up or how low you go, it's going to be that way regardless. Now, as far as the Sony goes, the Sony tends to be a little bit better with that. I mean, it's incredibly smooth, colors work well, but you're always going to feel like you're not getting enough color out of the Sony set. Especially as we start transitioning into 12-bit displays, you will start to feel left behind. So that's something to think about as well. Personally, if you want my recommendation, I say go with the Z9D if you only care about black levels. But if you're okay with taking a little bit of a hit on the black levels, then the Q8FN is absolutely my #1 recommendation, because what it does with image quality is something you really have to see to believe. And you can always message me and I'll help you get it tuned the way you want it to. You guys know I'm good for it. But, you know, trust me on this one. You really want to see this picture in person. So I hope that helped out a little bit, Troy. If you have any questions, of course, I'm here to answer them. What's going on, Antonio? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. The family's doing good. We're all hanging out, waiting for my wife here. We're just kind of doing the live stream. I've got my wife out, and she's like at the store, and I feel like a total scumbag, to be very honest with all you guys, because it's like daylight savings time here where I'm at, and it's like dark outside, but she insisted to go by herself and all that. So, you know, I'm feeling kind of bad about it, but, you know, I just wanted to help you guys out, so hopefully it's appreciated. I was gonna go, but I ultimately didn't want to let you guys down, so I think I just kind of prioritized you guys over my family now that I say that out loud, which is kind of bad, but you know, this is dedication. You can't fake this stuff. So I really do hope you guys are appreciating the effort. But the family is doing good. What's happening, Matt? How's it going? You said, so I rate the Q8FN. What would I rate it out of a 10? And do I feel that there is an area where it can be improved? If so, where can this be? Or if so, hold on. If so, do you feel a patch can improve this? Okay, and then you were saying, again, I appreciate your time and feedback. Okay, that's an easy one. Okay, so basically out of 10, I would rate this television solidly about a 9. A solid 9. There's a lot that this TV has going for it, so I definitely say out of 10, this is going to get you most of the way to it. There's only that, like, that 10% gap that you really are missing there with this television, but otherwise, it's a really, really great television, and I really do enjoy it. Now, do I feel that there is an area where this TV can be improved? I do. I think there are tons of areas where this TV can be improved. Motion can be improved. I hope a patch can improve it. I do believe a patch can do it. I've seen Samsung do it on the KS series, so I know it is something that can be improved. As far as, you know, vertical banding, that's something that can't be improved with a patch. So if you do roll a panel with vertical banding, you're kind of stuck with it. Though, if you have a good panel, it won't happen, like, hardly ever. You'd need, like, select solid colors and really, really dark solid colors at that. And that's really, you know, kind of a thing there. Let's see, other weak points that maybe I don't really like so much. I mean, occasionally if you set it to the local dimming set to high, you can run into some uniformity issues, like some faint, very faint, like one little flash lighting little piece, because it's overpowering the television with like well over 2,000 nits of brightness, by the way, measured, confirmed, by the way. So I don't know where Artings or anybody else was getting that data, and I'll go into that a little later, believe me. But in terms of that, yeah, that's definitely what I would recommend as far as my don't likes, my detractors, if you will. Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's a great television. I do think some of it can be improved, like motion, but overall, it's a great TV. I think it's worth it. I think, again, solid television. And you said, appreciate your time and effort, buddy. I thank you for that, Matt. It's really great. And thank you for your question. Okay, I'm going to probably destroy this name, but Obliquity? I hope I said that right. What's going on? You said, you said, you love what I'm doing. I appreciate that. You were wondering if the Q655 or 65 was worth $1,200. You're thinking about choosing it over the LG SK9000. I tell you right now, the LG SK9000 isn't even worth a penny. Hell, I wouldn't even take it if it was free. It sounds harsh, but what they did with the blooming, you don't want that in your life. It's unusable. It's not a good TV, so trust me when I tell you, you're better off just kind of going with the Q6, hands down. Hopefully that helps. I know it sounds harsh again, but if you've ever seen how disgusting they really just did not try, you'll know exactly what I mean. Like, it's bad. I mean, really bad. What's going on, Ephus? I hope I said your name right. You said upgrading to a P series, upgrading a P series to a Q8 is there really going to be a massive difference? Absolutely. You were saying Vizio to Q8, 120 to 400 or to 40 zones. So the big thing here to keep in mind, and this is a common misconception when we're talking about local dimming zones, and I'm not putting you on the spot or anything, man, because this is something a lot of people do kind of mess up a little bit on. Local dimming zones in the past, like I'm talking like 2016 and years after, or years prior rather, those TVs tended to have a problem with black level control without having an excess amount of zones because the technology just wasn't there yet. Where now you can accomplish with 40 zones what you used to need 100 to accomplish. You know what I mean? So like you don't have to worry that much because local dimming algorithms have really tightened up and you get some insanely deep black levels. Now if we're talking about black levels out of the Q8FN, I mean outside of the absolute, and I'm kidding you not, the absolute highest in $3,000 televisions, I haven't seen any LEDs capable of producing this level of black, so that should say a lot. And I'm sorry, but no Vizio, even with 120 zones, has been able to do what this TV can do, because the algorithm is not as smart, and when you have text in the middle of the screen, you still get blooming, where on this TV, you do not get blooming. So that's something to think about. You were saying, will it at least get just good black? So I've answered that. And you were saying, is it worth the money? It is worth the money, and it is not a small upgrade. I'm going to tell you right now, it's like right now, you're basically watching TVs with blinders on, with kind of like a one-way as to how TVs are, and I'm telling you, it could be so much better. What's going on, mobs? What's happening? You said, you remember the part in the video about motion? You were trying to see what it looked like watching sports. Motion with sports, I haven't really tested, to be completely honest. I don't really watch sports too much. So that's just kind of where I'm at here. Yuck Fuzzy, what's going on? I hope I said your name right. You said, yo, does your game mode settings turn on sometimes while playing and stuff? Sometimes. I mean, it depends. I usually don't use game mode settings. I usually just leave all that stuff off. And, guys, give me a second here. My wife's in the room, and she's showing me holiday eggnog. I guess we got eggnog early, so that's pretty good. So, you know. And it's vegan eggnog. For those that don't know, we're vegan, so we're really excited about that, because it's kind of hard to find eggnog that's vegan. So, she's dancing around as she runs out of the room, so that was adorable. All right, back, getting serious again. So, we have... what is it? Questions about motion. Do I get a lot of judder in my motion? No, I don't get a lot of judder. It's just lower frame rate content can be very jerky or stuttery if you watch, like, you guys ever watch like Jason Bourne movies? And you know how they do like that really annoying, like, running fast action cam where it looks like they hired a 5-year-old to hold the camera? Well, that's kind of like where we're at. And like, if you have bad motion in movies already, it won't do it any favors. That's the kind of motion you're dealing with. But overall, motion is smooth, but it can be better. But again, if you use the auto mode, you won't have any real issues with motion at all. You'll be just fine. Ethos, you said, I only watch in a dark room. Vizio P is 600-ish nits. Is the Q8 going to be blinding? Yes, it will be. I'll tell you that. But you can always turn that down. And you were saying because your Vizio is a little bit on the bright side for you, and you were wondering if it wasn't for Black Crush, you were saying if it wasn't for Black Crush, then you'd buy an OLED. I completely understand you there. What's going on, Kevin? You said, hey, Quantum, in your opinion, what will the Q8 drop to on Black Friday? That's a good question. So for Black Friday, it could go one of two ways. We might see them temporarily raise the price later this week. Maybe if they're going to do it at all, they only could stand to do it this week, and they would have to raise the price to maybe, like, you know, where is it now? Right now it's at everyday $14.97. They'd have to raise the price to about $1,699 or something around that ballpark, maybe $649 even. And then, you know, before Black Friday, like literally the week before, or the week of Black Friday, then be like, oh, Black Friday sales, and slash the prices down to like $13.99 to, you know, pretend they're doing you any favors. But really, I don't see $14.97 being anything worse, you know, as far as price points. I think that's a good price point. That's what I got it at. Now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit while we're on the topic of pricing, because I'm going to give you guys my little trick of the trade here. So, for all you guys that are still watching, you guys are about to get the goods. Okay, here's the deal. There is a way that you can buy a brand new television and not pay any taxes on it whatsoever. I've tested this out numerous times for many years, and it works. So what you want to do is you want to go, and you guys probably will know I'm always talking about Video Audio Center. There's a reason for that. When I buy from them on Amazon, I do not pay tax ever. Not once have I ever paid tax buying from Video Audio Center. But I live in a state that has sales tax, so I don't know what it is about them that's different. Maybe they have some little weird hocus pocus thing going on, but I've never paid taxes ever buying from Video Audio Center. So I highly advise you all go look for them in particular if you're stateside, and definitely hook yourself up, because I paid literally $1497.99 for my QLED. That is it. I didn't pay a penny more. I mean, it was literally just on Amazon for that price. So I feel very proud about that. And I've done it many, many times with other TVs as well. And so that is how you escape paying tax if you kind of want to get away from that. It's not like tax evasion or anything. It's just, I guess they have a certain thing worked out where they don't have to technically charge you tax, which is great because I saved, because when I was going to check out with Amazon, the total was like, it was like 1620 something. And then I looked around and I was like, all right, well, I'll try this other vendor or whatever. And then the total was dramatically less. So I was like, all right, cool. And then I had some Amazon gift card credits left over. And, you know, it was what? At the end of the day, after returning my 930, I basically only had to pay like $220 basically to upgrade to the Q8. And that's what I did. And so, of course, at that price, with zero tax, by the way, is that an all-day, everyday win? And so that's something you guys can do as well. So something to think about. If you don't know, definitely check out Video Audio Center. Again, I'm not sponsored. I'm literally just trying to help. I have to say that because I swear there'll probably be somebody out there that'll be like, yeah, you're totally sponsored, which is why you're telling us this. No, this is good information. I truly just found out within this last year. So I did want to relay that to you, especially now, Black Friday. Some of these TVs, you don't have to eat the sales tax if you don't want to. And try it. Check it. Even right now as the live stream is going on, put something in a cart and check to see if it works. I guarantee you won't be charged any tax. It's the craziest thing in the world. So, you know, hop on that bandwagon while you can, most definitely. What's going on, Kevin? You said, hey, Quantum. Oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. I just now got it looping back up, so sorry about that. I just answered that question. Winston, what's going on? You said, so should I extend the warranty for the Q8 when I purchase it? I wouldn't. I think it's a great TV. It's pretty good, but if you want that extra peace of mind, it never hurts to have peace of mind. All right, so what's going on, Brent? You said, would I recommend getting the Q8 professionally calibrated? Yes. The Q8 is not one of those TVs you want to watch out of the box. Out of the box, the color is not accurate, and it's kind of atrocious, just being really honest with you. So for anyone who might have seen a Q8FN in stores and it didn't impress you, that's probably why, because this thing has to be calibrated. And not just calibrated that really knows what they're doing, because this TV does not track or trend D65 white correctly at all. Instead, you stop somewhere in the ballpark of about 6,400, and it's not the cleanest thing I've ever seen. So that's something to think about as well, at least as far as the tracking of the color temperatures go. So the other part of this question was, or is it solid enough out of the box? Funny, I just answered that part of it. And use the settings you provide. I think if you use the settings I provide, you will definitely be far better off than most of the people just trying to tune it themselves or using arting settings, because my settings aren't done on test patterns. They're done on content you guys request I test. Like, you know, hey Quantum, test golf or tennis or, you know, UFC or anime. You guys get the idea. And I take that into consideration when I make these settings for you, so it really is a labor of love for you guys. So I'd like to think my settings are better than everybody else's, simply because I do exactly as you guys would like me to do, and I kind of find what works best for the way you're going to be watching your television. Especially the guys and gals out there that need custom, you know, not quotes, but kind of customized settings. So that's something I definitely try to put out for you guys. So hope that answered your question, Brent. I hope I don't butcher this. Elia, I hope I said that right. You said the 55-inch NU8000 or the 55-inch Q6FN. What is a better choice considering there's a $200 difference? It's going to have to be the Q6. The Q8 is just not worth it. When you consider this is the age of quantum dots, if you don't have a TV with it, it's just not worth your time. The Mobs asks, or you said, I'll remind you, thanks. Okay, I appreciate that. I'm probably going to need that. Our car, what's up? You said, do I think the 65-inch Q8 will go down by Christmas? I don't. I think they're going to ride the price point out pretty heavily. But I could be wrong, but I really don't see them dropping it. And you were asking, what's the deal with the Q6? The Q6, it's a TV. If you If the budget's super duper tight, get it. If you are up against another television that might not have quantum dots, get it. But ultimately, it is something I would recommend you pass, and pretty much all of you should pass. If you go on the Facebook page, I make albums of each television that I purchased, and you guys can see the blooming, the clouding, and like I put it all out there in albums for you guys, and you guys can dissect the photo any way you need to for your benefits. And I'm telling you, the Q6 has a massive problem with blooming, and it's not something that will be hidden by using bias lighting, by the way, because I've tried that. I've even tried turning on like every light in my room, and I still saw the bad black levels. So something to think about. Let's see, more questions coming in. Antonio says, what size Q8 do I have? You want the 65, but you want the best picture quality. You said you can get a Q6, but the Q8 is way better, but you can't afford a Q8. Q8 65, but 55. Well, I have the 55-inch Q8FN. I think it's a great television. I don't think you really need the 65, so if money's tight, don't feel bad, because all the videos I've made and all the excitement I'm experiencing is off of a 55-inch. I did not go to the highest end. As far as, you know, the Q6, I wouldn't do it. That's just, you know, I just really wouldn't recommend it. What's going on, Ninsen? What's happening? You said debating between the Z9D 900F and the Q8FN. You should probably cross the 900F off this list. If you are definitely looking between all three, the 900F would not be able to compete equally with the other two. Reason being, 900F's blooming is just disgusting. That leaves you with two solid televisions, the Z9D and the Q8FN. The Q8FN is going to be really solid. It's going to give you excellent deep black levels. I mean, really, you're going to think you have more zones of full array local dimming than you have. Excellent contrast, so on and so forth. The Z9D is going to give you better depth of things like your background. So for those watching the live stream, you see, like, you know, the palm trees in the back, the clouds in the back. All that stuff would be like three-dimensional and like a way that just the Samsung can't do. But then, you know, Samsung does a better job with light sources and making sure things look natural. So that's something to think about as well. But if you wanted my definitive answer, I would say Q8FN, because the color advantage is massive, and that's really what it's all about. Like the color and the contrast, I would say, like in the brightest scenes, like when that thing just like went bright just there, and how he slams on the ground, rocks fly out. Like you see a lot of contrast out of this TV, and it gets really bright where it needs to. So that's why I usually recommend the Q8 over something like a Z9D. Also, there is the price factor. You do save some money, and you're still getting a really kick-ass picture. So food for thought. What's going on, Warm Chord Music? What's happening? You said picked up your 55 Q8FN. Right now they went on sale, mostly based on my videos. You said really happy with the purchase. Thank you for being brutally honest and not just promoting certain brands. Well, I appreciate your comment, man. I thank you for coming by the live stream today to show the love. I do try to keep it as honest as I can, because I truly don't know any other way. I do notice there are a lot of individuals willing to put on a logo or a jersey for another company, and that's just not what we do here. So thank you for acknowledging that, man. You rock. Let's see. Kojin, what's happening? You said you want a Q8FN, yet you want Dolby Atmos. You're so confused. I mean, the Q8FN is great if you know what you're looking for. I mean, like, Dolby Atmos isn't going to be baked into the Q8FN, but you can get a soundbar and utilize Dolby Atmos, because I have the Z9F soundbar, and I don't really have to sacrifice anything, so you will be good to go in that regard. So no harm, no foul there. What's going on, Patrick? What's up, man? You said KS8000 or Q6FN for a dark room, for movies and for gaming. I would say the Q6FN if you want color, the KS8000 for most everything else. That's just kind of how these things fall into line. Well, that's not really fair to the Q6. I would say the Q6 does a great job with contrast. It does. Contrast and color it does a great job with, over even the KS8000. But I would say after the newest update, it's so unnecessary. Like, really, it's so unnecessary that I wouldn't recommend it. What's going on? I got another question here from Neil. What's up, man? you said, how bad is the DSC on the Q8FN and is the Q7 better? The DSC on the Q8FN is a non-issue. I do see a lot of people even recently asking that question. I just wanted to clarify, it's really a non-issue. I had to go to ISO 800 to even show you the dirty screen effect, and that was on like a really controlled, like, how would you even replicate that except for in a video game's loading screen kind of thing. When I'm watching movies, when I'm playing video games as a whole, I never see it. Like right now in Injustice, there is no dirty screen effect as they're moving around, and there never is. It's just a clean TV. I don't have any problems. I don't even have dark corners or vignetting. It's a really good TV. The Q7, I would not say is better. The Q7 will not touch this TV. The edge-lit performance does hurt it, and that's ultimately where I kind of take my little hat and I tip it down and say that's where I bow out. Ultimately, it does come down to the user, though, and that is something you have to decide. What's going on, Dubs180? You said best 65-inch under $1,000. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not really looking at prices right now, so I couldn't really tell you the current market of 65 inches. I usually don't go with 65 inches. But if I had to wager a guess for the best 65-inch under $1,000, I'd say it'd be really hard to find one under $1,000, because larger screen sizes usually are associated with significantly higher price margins, so I wouldn't really recommend going and kind of cheating yourself out of a really good TV. If you took that same $1,000, for example, and you bought yourself, like, let's say, a 930E on Amazon right now for $1080.99 or $1098.99 or something like that, you would be fine. You know what I mean? So that's something to weigh up as well. How important is 65 inches to you? Something only you could decide, you know? What's going on, John? You said, would the Q6FN 49-inch with 60 hertz be good for motion and blur? And you're watching 720 Comcast. The Q6 is great. It's a great size. I know a lot of people have been afraid about 60 hertz TVs. That's not something you should be afraid of. There is no content that is going to play in 120 hertz. And so as a result, these TVs that are 60 hertz TVs usually has a motion interpolation rate of 120, and for whatever reason that ends up being far more easy on the eyes than the motion rate 240. And I've noticed this across the board, and I don't know why most manufacturers won't catch on to this already. Unless you're replicating 120 frames a second content, there's just no way you're going to ever get that out of your television. So it's kind of pointless at this point, you know what I mean? So yeah, don't worry too much about that. It should be fine with motion. The other part of this question, you were saying you need a good option for 49 inches. I think that's a great option for 49 inches. I really do. I know if you can find some of the older 900E televisions, that's also a really good choice as well. What's going on, Ed? You said you bought yourself a Q6 and now you regret being cheap with yourself and not going with a Q8. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Nothing worse than buyer's remorse. What's going on, John? We have a question from John. I'm not going to butcher that last name. I'm just going to call you John P. You said, what would I suggest, Warm 2? Or why do I suggest Warm 2 and do different presets like standard, dynamic? You said have fundamental differences, or are they all the same presets? Well, what I just do when I am talking about the color temperatures and things of that nature is trying to ensure that you have more shades of color in Warm 2. It's just not possible to use standard and get the kind of image quality that I give. It really isn't possible, because warmer tones usually evoke more expression out of color, and that's just how these things play out. Now, I usually do it under different presets like natural and standard. I never ever recommend dynamic mode, ever. That mode is usually like a garbage mode. You should just toss in the garbage the moment you get it, because it's the most inaccurate, to be fair and be honest. But I will tell you this. I will tell you that when you're in standard and natural or other modes like movie modes, you can play around with Warm 2 and the color temperature, and you can get it to the point where you're getting everything you hope for out of your image. And that's why I usually recommend different kind of presets and things like that. So I hope that helped a little bit there. Braden's, I hope I'm getting this right. Braden's Rantin' More. What's up, man? You said, have I had a TCL 515 or 517. I have not. Which 5 series would I recommend? I mean, truthfully, I don't really mess around with TCL too much because of the quality control issues that I've seen. So that's kind of where I stand with it. I usually don't recommend them to anybody, but if you've got a really harsh budget, that's the only way. If you could remotely even save up a little bit, that's what I usually recommend doing, though, because TCL is just kind of too unreliable at this stage for me to really legitimately recommend. It's just being honest. I gotta... Thanks for the answer, man. Really appreciate it, is what Yuck Fuzzy says. Appreciate that. What's going on, Matt George? You said in the UK there are only entry-level TCL TVs, and we Vizio TVs are not available. The Q8 is £1,600, I think that is, and Q9 is £1,800, which is basically equals $2,300, and they're only 55 inches. At this price point, the Q9, I mean, yeah, I would. I mean, that's not a bad price for the Q9FN for $1,800. I'm sure most people in the States would probably want a price like that. So yeah, it's not a bad price at all. But you know, ultimately, I am I have to say this: don't go with the Q8. Cross the Q8 off your list. You're coming from the UK, so the UK doesn't have the Q8FN. The UK has the Q8DN. And that's cancer. It's just an edgelit television that they're trying to sell you. There is no point. Don't buy it. Buy the Q9 because that's really the only full array you guys have in the UK. And all the picture qualities that I'm talking about here will be completely missed if you're not enjoying that in the full array fashion that I am. So definitely wanted to mention that because they got a little sneaky this year with Samsung. Kojin, what's up? You said tried Video Audio Center on Amazon in Southern California, and it showed 142 in sales tax. That's a bummer. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know why it's showing me something different where I don't have any sales tax at all. That's odd. I don't know. That's something I would love to see, like how many of you guys actually try like with Video Audio Center and roll sales tax versus the guys that don't. I'm in Florida for those that are wondering, so I don't know if that's something to do with my state. Maybe they charge something different for California. I know like there are some states that have some weird special rules, like with like various state tax and things like that, that just there's no way around it or whatever. I don't know if you're in one of those states. I truly don't know all the rules of states when it comes to state tax, or all the rules of every state with state tax and things like that, and sales tax, but that's weird. That is weird. So looking forward to hearing from everybody else to see what you guys have. What's going on, Julio Marquez? What's up? Or Marquez, what's up? You said, what's good? What's a good 65-inch for around 1,200, 1,500? I think 1,200 to 1,500. You're looking at, shoot, for a 65-inch, still kind of rough. You could probably get yourself maybe a Q6 65-inch. I mean, that's really the only midway decent one. I mean, that's a really rough size, man. I'm gonna be very honest with you. 1,500 is where they usually start the high-end 55 inches at. So you're gonna have to raise the budget just a little bit to get a nicer 65-inch. Just being straight up with you there. What's up, Maushin? What's going on? You said, how am I doing? I'm doing great. You said you appreciate everything I do for the channel and for you guys. I appreciate that. That's really straight. You were saying, is the Q8FN good for motion? The Q8FN it's good for motion. That's a fair statement. It's good for motion, but not great. Coming from the 900E, I would have liked to see more fluid motion, but sometimes I just don't get the fluidity, obviously, that I would have hoped for. But ultimately, it's really good for motion and way better than what I came from with the Sony X930. And that's just kind of where I am with that. I think that's not bad at all. Now, in terms of basketball and 1080p from YouTube, I don't really know much about basketball. I don't really watch motion drills or anything like that, so I haven't really tested that out, to be honest with you. But 1080p and YouTube's good. I don't have any problems there. What's going on? I got a question from RL Carr. You said, do I still feel like the 830F is a sleeper hit of 2018? I do. I think for the price point, if you want a large television, the 830F is a good option. It's not perfect, which is why I don't ever say it's like the best or anything like that, but I do think it's a good solid option. Like if you're, you know, you're a little strapped for cash, you don't really want to go with the cheaper budget brands, but you still want a nice large size, it's a good choice. But just be prepared to take a hit on two things. The peak nit range is going to be abysmal. You don't expect brightness because that TV is not going to give it to you. And don't expect black levels. The black levels are also going to be pretty atrocious. So these are things to think about as well. Just food for thought there. What's going on, Mao Shin? I appreciate the donation of $5. Goes a long way towards helping the channel as we do make our way into next year. And I know they're going to be there. So you guys, I do want to thank you guys again. When you guys donate, it helps a lot. I know I say it a lot, but it truly does help. So thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Now, I've got another donation of $2 from James Bauman. You said, thanks, bro. Have a good holiday next week. I appreciate that, James. Thank you. And I hope the family's doing okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's get back to answering some questions here. We've got a question coming through about, I think, Dolby Vision on the Q8FN, if it's worth it or not without having Dolby Vision. It's still worth it. I mean, I don't really... The thing is, Dolby Vision is great if you need, like, I don't know. It's great if you need, like, bragging rights, to be honest with you, because it won't do better than HDR10, so that shouldn't be, like, a brick wall for you guys. Like, no Dolby Vision, no deal, because having tested Dolby Vision on the X700 Blu-ray player, on the 930, which is rated as, like, one of the highest TVs for HDR we could possibly buy right now, second only to the most expensive. I mean, really, it's seriously, it's not what it was cracked up to be, and it's nowhere near as dynamic as they said it was. So yeah, don't be sold on that, because there are definitely a lot of scams going out. So just be mindful of that. Now I've got to load my chat up here and get it scrolling down even more. We've got Brett. What's going on, Brett? You said, should you get the Q9 or the Q8FN? And do I think the price point is worth it? I don't. I mean, like, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. Like, I have the Q8, right? I've worked on countless Q9s. The Q9 is not that great to the point where I would say, hey, you know, let's throw our hands in the air at the Q8 and say, let's just give Samsung an extra $2 grand. You know what I mean? Like, for your family's sake, for your money's sake, just save the extra money. It's a great look if you have the money. Like, and I mean, like, you've got hella money to spare. Like, you don't care. Like, if you're not gonna miss it, then by all means do it. But if you're somebody like me that works really hard and like you really don't want to come off of an extra $2,000 because your bank account will miss it, don't do it, because trust me, the Q8FN is there. It has a brilliant picture quality. I want to give a huge shout out to Kojin Akira. Thank you, man. You donated $5 to the channel, so thank you so much. I want to thank you guys, and BKLYN, I hope I say your name, Blaze1 donated $1.99. I appreciate that as well. You guys are helping the channel a lot when you do donate. We are self-funded here, so you guys are helping keep the channel alive and well, so I thank you so much for that. But going forward, we're definitely going to start we got to start bringing some way to give you guys polls so you guys can get your voices heard a lot better as far as when you guys do donate. I got to figure out a way to roll that in so you guys have a way to like say, hey, yeah, you know, 2019's here, we want this TV, and I can get it in, test it, and give you all the settings and all the goods on it that you guys are looking for. That's something to figure out though, but I appreciate the donations, guys. Let's see, we're going to be looking at more questions. From Brown Bag, I'm just saying it here, I hope I don't butcher your name here. Brown Baga, I hope I said that right. You said, based on just what I just said, is there a noticeable difference between the Q7 Q8 and a room with windows? Now that's something that I would say would become a lot harder to determine, being very honest with you. If you've always had the rooms lit up at night with a bunch of lamps and a bunch of windows open, that advantage of the full array kind of slides off a little bit. I'm gonna be very honest with you, because the Q7 is extremely ridiculous ridiculously bright, and I'm saying ridiculously bright. So you're not really running into the inconvenience, so to speak, that you would run into with typical LEDs, which is obviously the backlight, because again, your lights are on, and the Q7 is nowhere like the Q6, where the Q6 was like, oh man, we've got this like really terrible like light, and it's not really showing us much. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's not going to do us any favors if we're seeing all the edge light and the clouding and things like that, and you don't run into that. And so it's a really beautiful thing when you have it in a bright room with lamps on all the time. Trust me, it looks great. And then you kind of like, and that's for you guys that are also getting like, you know, even budget buyer, you know, 4K televisions, turn on a couple lights. You'll be surprised what it could do for the contrast. Think about it this way: when you're in a retail store, how bright is it in there? It's incredibly bright, because they want to hide the uniformity flaws so that when you take it home, you don't know they're there. But if you copy the same trick at home and you keep it in a bright room, you'll never have any real issues. So that's something to think about as well. I want to give a huge shout out to Brown Bagga. You donated $2.99 to the channel. Thank you so much for that. It was really kind of you. I do appreciate that. That goes a lot, again, towards helping the channel. Thank you guys, man. You guys are doing fantastic with the donations and helping the channel out, so I do appreciate it. Now we've got a couple more questions here that are coming in. It kind of lags behind a little bit. Trying to get this up here. We've got a question here from Rick. What's going on? You said the Sony Z9F soundbar, is the price going down on Black Friday? To be honest, I'm not sure if it is going down. Even if it is, I would say just be careful of the Sony Z9F, because I've had this thing for a while. No issues with sound quality, but the problem is more so with Sony going in the wee hours of the morning and just kind of doing automatic updates, even though automatic updates are turned off. And I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if that's going to do something down the road. So I would be very weary with that, because they shouldn't be able to, A, get internet information, you know, from you, and B, be able to just update it whenever they see fit, even though you tell it not to. Something really annoying about that, especially since I did not plug my Wi-Fi password into a soundbar of all things, but here we are. I kid you not, and it's really annoying, because every time now I turn on my Z9F soundbar, because I have my Xbox One X hooked up into the Arc, every time now it just says learn more about Alexa. I don't even own Alexa. It's so annoying. It's just like something that came with the update that I did not want to do. And so now here we are. So something to think about. Just be very careful with that, because Sony's on some other stuff with that. Like, you got to be really careful with Sony. We have a comment coming in from Chris G. What's going on, man? You said buying a new TV on Black Friday, Vizio P Series 65-inch or the Q6FN. Vizio P Series with a warranty if you want the better black levels, but if you're all about color and a better brightness, then you're probably going to want to go with the Q Series for the Q6FN. That's going to be the better buy for you. What's going on, Dubs 180? You said, what's the runner-up behind the Q8F? Hands down, the 930 would be the runner-up. The 930 is definitely going to give you the better picture quality, you know, as a step down from there. Now, I say runner-up because I'm talking about in terms of like brightness, but now we can also talk in terms of, you know, what would be a runner-up if I didn't want to go with Sony, or if I wanted to go with something else. The Q7 is a good option if you're okay with taking a hit on black levels and you're like, all right, the bright room performance is very important and I can leave lamps on, and then the Q7 would be a good runner-up. But mostly the 930 is the most equivalent thing out there right now to this performance, albeit with some nuanced differences in some areas and some big ones like color that you won't get. So it's something to consider most definitely. Alright, so we're gonna go to more questions here as we load them up. So just kind of hang tight. What's going on, Adrian? You said, do I pay tax on top of the price when I buy TVs? Typically, I do pay tax when I buy televisions, but I was telling a couple people earlier, I don't know if you caught that little piece there, but basically there's like a video audio center retailer on Amazon, and you can even find them, believe it or not, even on like Walmart, but I've only tested this on Amazon, so this is the only place I know where it works, and they'll actually just eat the cost of tax for you. And I guess some states, because I did get a comment here earlier a little while ago saying that you don't have that. They were getting charged like 140 in taxes, so that's something to think about as well. But I wasn't getting any of that, and I was able to walk away with my Q8FN for a really great deal. So it might go by a state-by-state basis, so something to think about as well. Now, if you guys are also like overseas and things like that, that might also get a little different as well. So that's something to think about. Let's see. What's going on, Julio? You said thanks for the response. You were looking at the Q6, but my review doesn't sound positive. My review isn't necessarily positive or negative. It's just honest, you know. It's like, it definitely has its shortcomings. Like, I'm not saying for anybody who's interested in the Q6, like, this is the worst TV that has ever been created, run away from it. I don't think I would say that about very many TVs, but I will say that this is a TV with challenges. And, you know, when you're coming off of over $1,000 after taxes, you shouldn't be having those kinds of challenges in the black level department. And that's really all I'm saying. I think there for the money is definitely something better for you for sure. We've got the mobs saying 1080p content. What do I recommend? What do I recommend on the sharpness on the Q8? For the sharpness of the Q8, right now I'm rocking 9 on the sharpness for the Q8. Now, as far as 1080p content, this has worked really great when I use sharpness of 9 with the with the digital clean view on automatic. That works pretty well for me right now. What's going on? Pimpin', what is it? Pimpin' Pastor J. Hold on, Pimpin' Pastor JJ. That's a funny name, man. That's a really funny name. But you said, is the Q8FN good for gaming? Yeah, it's good for gaming. It's great for gaming. It's a gaming TV through and through. Fantastic. I'm absolutely enjoying myself, and I think it's a great experience. Noah James, what's going on? You were saying you have 2 models of the Q8 in the UK? You do? You have the Q8FN and the Q8ND. I did not know that. You were saying, is the Q8... No, the Q8ND is not the one with the... or DN, that's not the one with the full array. The FN is the full array. So be very careful of that. Brown Bagga, you said name sounded right. Appreciate that. Warm Chord Music, what's the best 4K player to pair with the Q8? I'm gonna be very honest, when it comes to 4K players, I don't really go crazy into that stuff. I got my Xbox One X and then my Xbox One S, and that's what I use for 4K players. I do not go crazy into that stuff simply because I don't think it's worth it. Everybody's gonna have their, you know, take on it, but for me, I just need you to play 4K and, you know, represent HDR10. I don't get sucked into the Dolby Vision or the HDR10 Plus and all that stuff. I'm not buying all these crazy players that do all this stuff because I was really disappointed with Dolby Vision and HDR10, and truthfully, I never even use HDR, like ever. I see a lot of settings requests for HDR lately. I don't touch HDR. I usually use SDR because the experience that you're aiming for in HDR is there in SDR, especially with this tone mapping ability of the Q8. It's just insanely good for SDR, so food for thought there. Lithiman, what's going on, man? You said looking for an 82-inch Q8 from B&H Audio. Anyone deal with them? Best Buy doesn't have 82-inch in stock. Yeah, hopefully some of you guys can answer his question. I haven't had any dealings with any 82 inches from B&H Photo, so I can't really speak on that one. Let's see. Warm Chord Music, you said you have an Xbox One X, and some reviewers say it's not that great as a 4K player so far as you think it's good, but it's your first 4K TV. But this is your 4K TV. I mean, I could tell you I've had the Sony X700 Blu-ray player, and, you know, truthfully speaking, I've seen much more expensive Blu-ray players, and 4K really does the same thing as far as HDR. It's not giving you some sort of amazing tone mapping abilities. One thing I will say is a massive benefit for those who are going the Blu-ray player route. The Blu-ray players take their benefit in the form of you have a way to customize various aspects of HDR, like contrast and color saturation, so it can be a much better HDR representation on HDR10 than it would have been if you didn't have that. Another benefit is it tends to get a little brighter for whatever reason than what would have been possible, so that's also good. You have, it's just a more customizable Blu-ray player. So more options are always good when you're dealing with HDR. But overall, it's not like a day and night difference, and I wouldn't really mess with it too much. Unless, of course, you have something more, like, you know, ridiculously expensive, like the Oppo players that are now extinct. If you have something like that, good on you. But honestly, I'm not paying 700, upwards of a couple $1,000 for a Blu-ray player or 4K Blu-ray player. Not happening. That's just me, though. Matt George, what's going on? You said in the UK there are 2 models. You said the Q8FN QD. Oh, that's a big variation of letters there. And the Q8FN QFN. And you were saying one is the edgelit variant, and then the other one is, I guess, more expensive if it's full array. Now, I'm not sure of your pricing there. Are you saying they both only cost $1,400, or are they both just the same? I mean, because like I don't think they would do that. I would have to know the pricing of both, but it's good to know. I mean, models are very different from country to country, so thank you for giving that information. PA, what's going on? You said, should you get a 65-inch KS8000 or a newer NU8000? KS8000 because the NU8000 does not have the quantum dot technology, so it's really not something I would highly recommend, especially because, trust me, the detail is there. Anthony, what's going on, man? You said Q8FN. Where will it be? Or where will be the best place for? Where's the best place for service and Black Friday pricing? I mean, I'm gonna be very honest. Service is out the window. Most people don't care when they sell you TVs. It's just kind of like a revolving door. So I don't really think you're gonna find great service anywhere. The best price, truthfully, e-commerce. It's very competitive. Everybody's trying to undercut somebody, and your odds of finding a retailer that's willing to go lower by an extra, even $200, is a lot more likely than a retail store where all the local guys kind of do what they have to do to stay on the same page. So it's kind of like it's a big competition. So I would go e-commerce for sure. Simon, what's going on? You said you appreciate my input about looking for the right TV for your family. I appreciate that. You said the NU8000 is a 65-inch and for $997. Is that a good deal? That's a really good deal. You're talking about a 65-inch for, you know, a little under $1,000 before taxes. That's not bad. That's a really good deal. All right, so we've got a comment from Ephes. You said, so should you be worried on the Q8's brightness in a dark room? If you turn the backlight down to compensate, do you lose picture quality and detail? Now, the beautiful thing about the Q8 is no, you don't lose quality. Backlight down, it doesn't do much of anything. But if you want some darkroom settings that will eliminate any kind of like really bright light, I got you covered. Trust me, I'm working on some darkroom settings. I've got things in the works. Don't worry. If you need that stuff, I got it all figured out. Your brightness, believe me, I can crush it way down and you still get all the color, saturation, detail. So just get with me on that and I can definitely help you out if you need it. But to answer your question, no, you shouldn't be worried about the brightness because it is definitely tunable. Chris G, you said thanks for the information. Keep up the good, honest reviews. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. I appreciate. West Webb, what's going on? You said, hey, just got here. How's it going? How's it going? Thanks for showing up. Kojin, what's going on? You said, do I recommend getting a warranty on the television? I do, but I don't know how Trade Square is, and I'm not really sure about many other warranties, though I've heard some real bad nightmares about Trade Square, so I'd be very careful if I were you. So for everybody that's just getting here, I want to thank you guys for showing up. I'm going to end the live stream here within the next few minutes or so, so please try to ask as many questions as you can before I do end up ending the live stream. I do want to thank all of you guys for showing up today. It means a lot. You guys are fantastic, but I don't want to go too long into the night because I do still have to spend time with my family, and I don't say have to as an obligation because I rather love my family. But that being said, I do love spending time with you guys here today, and I do thank all of you for showing up. So let's get through the last of these questions, and if anybody leaves out early and I don't get to you before you log off, again, thanks for showing up today. Let's see. Amanda, what's going on? You said, which do I think would be better, the Samsung 65-inch 8 series or the LG 6 series 75-inch. You're torn between the two. You're going to want an 8 series for sure from Samsung, because the 6 series from LG usually has problems with black levels, and that's something to think about if you're in a darkroom environment. But then also, it's also the quality as well. You're talking the 6 series usually is more of the entry-level tier. 8 series usually offers a much more, significantly more premium offering, and you can get a lot more for the money. So hopefully that helps. Mefuj, what's going on? You said really like the reviews. Wish you could do side-by-side honest comparison of the Q7 and the Q8. I wish I could, but I don't really have the funding to do like a Q7 and a Q8 at the same time. That is an awful lot of cash, to be honest with you, especially at, you know, $1,200 a pop for at least a 55-incher. That would definitely be a little bit much for right now. But I do appreciate the request. I do have Q7 videos. We can definitely put those up on the link here if you guys need that. You can see kind of how I felt about it and things like that. But ultimately, if you really want to compare the two, it kind of isn't a comparison. Q8 is going to be better because of that full array versus the edgelit. NW3098, what's going on? You said you heard me say that a 55-inch is best, and can I explain why that's a better size? It's just less prone to these issues and lifespan issues, in particular found on larger screens. Anytime you go larger, there's more room for the panel to degrade. There's more. Think of it like this. You know, you've got a light source. You're trying to cover an entire screen on an LED surface. You're trying to get it black. You're trying to, you know, get color to it. There's a lot more room for risk and error when you're trying to cover that much of a screen. And that's really what it is. And a lot more people run into uniformity issues that are unacceptable on larger screen sizes, and they tend to die out a lot faster too. So the thing is, just be careful with that. I recommend 55 because it usually has a tighter pixel density, and it's more than large enough to see the impact of 4K. At least at a certain distance or whatever the case may be. But I don't ever have any lifespan issues with 55, so that's my reasoning. BK, I think it's Brooklyn Blaze, but I'm not sure. But BKLYN, I'm not sure. I think that's Brooklyn. I think so. Not sure. But you say, make me feel good about the Sony 75-inch X900F on order. Do you still think it's a great TV? How much are you loving the Q8FN? I think the 75-inch Sony X900F definitely does have a really impressive picture. The larger up in the Sony televisions you go, it seems they're adding more local dimming zones for sure. Obviously to account for the size that they're adding. But ultimately, I still love my Q8. I really, really highly recommend you check that out. That's, trust me when I tell you, the next innovation in TV as far as color. Color is there, and it really does look good. Now, as far as the 75-inch 900F goes, the 900F is still going to give you most of everything I had on the 930, really. You're going to have depth, contrast, color, brightness, equivalent to the 930. More or less as far as the brightness goes, of course. But then you've got the motion behind it that the 930 could never hope to have, so that's a huge benefit there. And upscaling is also great, too, so something to think about. You said, now I've got a question from EVJ. You said, hey bud, the Q8DN is the full array. Okay, you were saying, I mean, I would always go for the full array if I could. You know, between an edgelit and a full array, that is always the option to go with. But if you've got a full array Q8, the Q8 is definitely where I would go. We've got the question from Mark. And it's, would I buy any QLED if Panasonic and Plasma if your current Panasonic Plasma is working just fine? I mean, would I personally? Yes, absolutely, because I know the difference now. But if you don't want to, there's not a need, obviously. If your Plasma's working fine, you're getting good colors, but I'm telling you, there will be a difference, and you will notice it. Roman, what's going on? You said, you just bought a Q8 75-inch off of eBay for only $2,000. That ain't bad. That was a steal. Black Label, you said, have I given settings for PS4 Pro? Yeah, I kind of do general settings. I don't usually go by console to console. I think that'd be kind of redundant, I guess, in a way, because most of it kind of works universally. except for Nintendo Switch. So check out the previous settings that I have on the Q8 and you should be good to go. Kojin, what's going on? You said you're the best. Thank you for all your helpful tips. I thank you for stopping by. And your nice comment as well. It was really cool. Black Label, what's going on? You said, I've recently found your channel, and I'm very happy with your reviews and opinions. Thank you. I appreciate that. Rock, keep doing what you're doing. West Webb, you said, how's HDR on this TV? HDR on this TV is pretty good, but ultimately SDR is better, so I usually recommend that instead. The Mobs, you said the Q8 had sharpness on 20. You think it's the same on 1080p with watching. You haven't upgraded to wow, that's, well, 20 is pretty high. I usually don't recommend that high, but if it makes you happy, I say go for it. Ephes, what's going on? You said thanks for all the answers. You said, how do I hit you up to get some more darkroom settings? Darkroom settings I usually just put out as I create them. There's not really necessarily a way to hit me up per se. I've got the comment section and the Facebook page as my main modes of communication, so you can always reach me there. I do tend to check this stuff rather frequently, so hope that helps out there. X Mortal, what's going on? You were talking about the UK version, so that's cool. We have Alex, what's going on then? You said best 55-inch for $1,000 to $1,200. I have a best video as far as talking about best TVs for under $1,000 on the channel here, so definitely do give that a gander. NW3098, you said you mentioned in one of your videos that 55 is okay. I've already explained that one. I guess this is just kind of showing me again. Raymond, what's going on? You said love your work, dude. I appreciate that. Bruce, what's going on? You watch movies more than you do gaming, and you were saying will my settings work with that? My settings are fairly universal for most kinds of content, so you should be fine. Malshin, what's up? I appreciate the compliment. Miss Hari, what's going on? You said can you use your Q8 settings? Yeah, you should be able to use the Q8 settings for the Q9. That shouldn't be a problem. It might not work because there are some differences, but they're both full array, so more or less the experience should be about the same. I've had reports of the Q9 working about the same. Lauren K, do I see the Q9 FM processes dropping? I do not. What's going on, Bart? You said for $1,400 is Z deals, no tax, free shipping, brand new. How can it be? I got mine from I got my Q9 or my Q8 from, what is it? Video Audio Center for no tax. So I mean, if you guys are finding similar deals, that's what's up. NW3098, what's going on? Thanks for your help. Is it TCL 617? Upscaling on the TCL is not worth your time, just being honest with you there. Zach the Creator, what's going on? You said how big of a jump is it from the 2015 to the Vizio to the Q8? It's a big jump, and you're definitely gonna notice a world of difference for sure. So yeah, look forward to that. It's gonna be exciting. Black Label, what's going on? You said just bought a 65-inch and you can trade it for a 55-inch. You wanted to go a little bigger. You heard me mention something about going bigger. The 55 may be an issue. 55 inches are just kind of a safe spot, so I would just do that, to be honest with you. And then you said Samsung.com had a sale for $1,500 right now. Hey, if you find a TV that works for you, I think that would be a pretty good idea to do that. If especially you're thinking of like kind of cutting the corners and not having to go so big because of the lifespan issues and things like that, definitely would consider that. P810 3D, you said one more question. 75-inch UN for $1,500 Black Friday. That's not bad. P810. Another question, you said, is it a good deal? Do the 75-inch? I do. Okay, so that pretty much rounds out everything. I want to thank everybody from, you know, coming out today, from all walks of life and all that good stuff. You guys are fantastic. Thank you to everybody who donated on the channel today. It really does go a lot towards helping fund the next wave of videos and things of that nature. You guys are really knocking it out of the park, watching the videos, asking questions, engaging, and I really do thank you. It is now time, unfortunately, for me to go. I will see you guys next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go spend time with the family. So I really hope you guys enjoyed what I did here today for you guys, and I hope I helped. And until the next live stream, I will see you guys later.